Oh, it's this one. Hmm. Dude, I don't even get on that. Leave me alone. That is. No. No, I cannot. Why y'all keep trying to like get me to go to fucking Discord, dude?
Doing. No contact with me, no coming to my home, no attempting to visit me at the hospital, no posting about me or my baby on social media. Officer Banks said we weren't going to send it just yet. He wanted me to have it ready in case I needed to file for a restraining order later. If I did need to file, it would help my case to show that I'd tried other steps first. He saved the document and emailed me a copy. That afternoon, I called the hospital where I was planning to deliver. I asked to speak with the labor and delivery unit and got transferred to Nurse Marta again. This was my pre-admission appointment where we went over all the medical stuff, but I also wanted to finalize the security plan. Marta and I set up a code word that I would use when I arrived in labor. The code word was butterfly because it was random and my mother would never guess it. Marta explained again that their security team dealt with difficult family situations all the time. She promised me that without my code word and explicit permission, nobody was getting past those locked doors, not even if they claimed to be family, not even if they caused a scene. She gave me her direct number again and told me to call if anything changed or if I had new concerns. I was just starting to feel like maybe I had things under control when my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but I thought maybe it was something important, like the hospital calling from a different line or the police with an update. I answered and immediately heard my sister's voice. She didn't even say hello. She just launched right into it. She said I was destroying the family. She said I was breaking Mom's heart. She said I was being selfish and cruel and that I was going to regret this. She kept talking and talking and I could feel my blood pressure going up. My face got hot and my heart started pounding. I tried to say something, but she just kept going. Finally, I hung up on her right in the middle of a sentence. I sat there holding my phone and shaking. My husband came over and asked what was wrong. I told him my sister had called and he looked so angry. He took my phone and blocked that number too. Then he made me sit down and do the breathing exercises Leah had taught me until my heart rate came back down. That night I couldn't sleep, so I sat at the kitchen table with my phone and started making a list. I created a new document and titled it Emergency Contacts. I typed in Officer Banks' direct number at the top, then added the hospital security line that Marta had given me. I scrolled through my contacts and found our lawyer friend's number and added that too. John's number went in next because he'd been watching out for us. I organized it by situation, like if my mother showed up at the house, call John first to see if he saw anything, then call the police. If something happened at the hospital, call Marta and security. If we needed legal advice, call the lawyer. Just having it written out made me feel like I had some control over what might happen. The next morning, my husband came downstairs looking upset and holding his phone. He showed me an email that had come to his work address overnight. It was from my mother. The subject line said, important information about your wife, and when I opened it, my hands started shaking. She'd written this long message about how I was clearly having a mental breakdown from pregnancy hormones. She said my husband needed to protect our daughter from my unstable behavior. She claimed I was keeping the baby from family who loved her, and that isolation was a sign of postpartum psychosis, even though I hadn't even given birth yet. She ended it by saying she was available to help him get me the treatment I desperately needed. My husband looked embarrassed and told me he was worried his coworkers might have seen it in his inbox. He forwarded the email to me so I could save it. Then he sent a message to his HR department explaining the situation. He added my mother to his spam filter and blocked her email address. I saved the email in my evidence folder with a screenshot and the date. That evening we sat down on the couch together and my husband turned to face me. He took my hands and told me he was completely on my side and nobody was going to make him doubt that. He said watching my mother's behavior get worse and worse had actually shown him that I'd been way too patient with her, not too harsh. He told me he was proud of me for protecting our family and that he'd do whatever it took to keep us safe. I started crying because I'd been so scared that my mother's campaign might work and he might start questioning whether I was overreacting. Hearing him say those things made me feel less alone. My next therapy appointment was 2 days later, and I brought all the new evidence with me. Leah looked through the work email and the screenshots from my sister's calls and posts. She helped me understand something I hadn't really thought about before. She said I was grieving the mother I wished I had, not the one I actually had. She explained that it was totally normal to feel sad about enforcing boundaries even when they were absolutely necessary for safety. She said the grief didn't mean I was making the wrong choice. It just meant I was human, and I'd hoped for something different. That made so much sense to me because I did feel sad sometimes, even though I knew I was doing the right thing. I wasn't sad about losing my actual mother's presence, because that had always been stressful and controlling. I was sad about losing the idea of having a normal mom who respected me. Leah taught me that I could grieve that loss while still protecting myself and my baby. The morning after that therapy session, John knocked on our door looking really uncomfortable. My husband let him in, and John pulled out his phone. He said he felt weird showing me this, but he thought I needed to know. He pulled up his security camera app. Doing. No contact with me, no coming to my home, no attempting to visit me at the hospital, no posting about me or my baby on social media. The timestamp said it was around 2 in the morning. In the video, I could see my mother walking slowly around our house. She went to different windows and looked in, cupping her hands around her face to see through the glass. She tried the side gate to our backyard, but it was locked. She walked around to the front and stood on the porch for a while just staring at our door. I felt sick watching it. This wasn't just showing up during the day or sending messages. This was sneaking around our house in the middle of the night looking in our windows. John said his camera had motion alerts and that's how he'd noticed it. He offered to send me the footage and I immediately said yes. I saved it to my evidence folder and thanked him for telling me, even though it was awkward. After John left, my husband and I looked at each other and agreed we needed to go to the police station right away. We drove there that afternoon and asked for Officer Banks. He came out to meet us and took us to a small meeting room. We sat down and I showed him everything I'd collected. The emails, the texts, the Facebook posts, calls, John's security footage showing my mother prowling around our house at night, Officer Banks was really kind but also professional. He didn't act shocked or like I was overreacting. He just carefully logged everything into their system. He made notes about the pattern of behavior and how it was getting worse. He specifically noted the neighbor's camera footage and the threatening statements my mother had made. He explained that all of this was going into an official report and that I could use it if I needed to file for a restraining order. He thanked us for documenting everything so thoroughly and said that kind of evidence made a huge difference in these cases. That evening, I was checking Facebook before bed and saw that my mother had made a new public post. My stomach dropped when I read it. She'd written the name of the specific hospital where I was planning to deliver. She said she'd be there no matter what anyone said, because nobody could keep a grandmother from meeting her grandbaby. She tagged several family members in the post. I immediately took a screenshot and then I called Marta in a panic. It was late, but she told me to call anytime if something came up. Marta answered and listened while I explained about the Facebook post. She told me not to worry and that we'd handle it. The next morning, Marta called me back and said she'd coordinated with hospital security. They were adding a special flag to my file in the system. The flag meant that if anyone called or showed up asking about me, the staff wouldn't even confirm I was a patient there. They'd just say they couldn't give out that information. Marta explained that they dealt with domestic situations and stalking cases pretty regularly, and they took patient safety really seriously. She said the security team was trained for this kind of thing, and they'd make sure my mother couldn't get past the locked doors of the labor and delivery unit. Knowing the hospital had a plan made me feel a little bit better. 2 days later, I got a text from my sister that I almost deleted without reading, but I opened it and saw that she'd sent me a formal invitation. It was for a family gathering at my parents' house next week. The invitation called it a family intervention to work through this misunderstanding. She said everyone would be there and we could all talk calmly and figure this out. Part of me felt this pull to go because I still wanted to fix things somehow. I wanted there to be a way to make this okay, but I knew better. I called my husband and read him the invitation. He said it sounded like a trap. I called Leah and she agreed completely. She said walking into a room full of people who'd already decided I was wrong would just give them a chance to gang up on me and pressure me. She reminded me that I'd already tried to set boundaries multiple times and my family had ignored them every single time. An intervention wasn't going to change that. I texted my sister back and declined the invitation. Then I took a screenshot of it and added it to my evidence folder as more proof of the pressure campaign. In my next therapy session with Leah, we worked on something practical. She said I needed a simple script I could use if any family members managed to get me on the phone or corner me somewhere. We came up with 2 sentences. I'm not discussing this. This conversation is over. That was it. Just those 2 sentences. Leah had me practice saying them over and over until I could get the words out without my voice shaking or apologizing after. She said the key was to not explain or justify or argue. Just state the boundary and end the conversation. We role-played different scenarios where family members might try to guilt me or argue with me. Each time I practiced saying my 2 sentences and then pretending to hang up or walk away. By the end of the session, I felt like I could actually do it if I had to. The next morning, I met Officer Banks at the courthouse and he walked me through every single form I needed to fill out for the temporary restraining order. My hands shook as I wrote down dates and descriptions of what my mother had done, and seeing it all on paper made it feel more real and more scary at the same time. Officer Banks was patient and helped me organize everything in the right order, explaining what the judge would want to see and how to describe the pattern of behavior. I had to include the gender reveal incident, the baby shower name announcement, the unauthorized key entry, the threat she made, and all the Facebook posts. After we finished the main paperwork, Officer Banks drove me to John's house so he could sign a notarized statement about what he'd witnessed. John had written down the dates and times he saw my mother's car driving past our house and the security footage of her trying to look in our windows. Having a neighbor willing to put his name on an official document meant everything. Because ago, the timestamp said it was around 2 in the morning. My cousin demanded that I give her my house at doing. Watching you stand.
My mom was on the couch watching TV when I walked in. Is she coming back? My mom asked without looking up. I don't know. Good, she smiled. Maybe now you can find someone better. Something snapped in me. What did you say to my wife while I was at work? She finally looked at me. Nothing. She didn't need to hear. I grabbed my phone and called Brooke again. This time she answered. What do you want? Her voice was exhausted. What did my mom say to you? Silence. Then I heard her crying. She told me I was too fat to give you children. That I trapped you into marriage. That you complain about me constantly when you visit her. That you told her you regret marrying me. I never said any of those things. I know. But you never defended me either. So what's the difference? She hung up. I turned to my mom. She was still watching TV like nothing happened. You need to leave tonight. She laughed. Excuse me? You've been lying to my wife, tormenting her in my own house, making her think I don't love her. I was protecting you from a bad marriage. My marriage was fine until you showed up. I called my brother and told him to come get mom immediately. She screamed at me the entire time she passed, called me ungrateful, said I was choosing a stranger over my own mother. Brooke isn't a stranger. She's my wife. My brother picked up mom an hour later. She didn't say goodbye. I drove back to Brooke's sister's house. This time, I didn't knock. I sat on the porch steps and waited. 2 hours later, the door opened behind me. Your You're still here? Brooke asked quietly. I turned around. I'm not leaving until you come home. She sat down next to me. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Your mom is gone, I said. I should have made her leave the first time she disrespected you. I should have defended you every single night. I failed you. She stared at the ground. Why didn't you? Because I was a coward. I thought keeping quiet meant keeping peace. I was wrong. She didn't say anything for a long time. That Wellington was incredible, I finally said. Best thing I've ever tasted. She laughed through her tears. You're an idiot. I know. She came home that night. My mom hasn't spoken to me since. I'm okay with that. My mom was on the couch watching TV when I walked in. Is she coming back? My mom asked without looking up. I don't know. Good, she smiled. Maybe now you can find someone better. Something snapped in me. What did you say to my wife?
Well, then could we at least pull up here? Not touch me. My cousin laughed like he was joking. Oh, come on, baby. You do not have to pretend anymore. She reached down to straighten his tie, and he grabbed her wrist and pushed it away. I said, do not touch me. My cousin's smile flickered, but she recovered fast. She can keep the wedding gifts. I am keeping you. And honestly, I am doing her a favor. Now she can find someone in her league. I looked at my grandmother sobbing, and my mother frozen in her chair, and my father gripping the table so hard his arms were shaking. I stood up and ripped the microphone right out of my cousin's hand. My voice comes out steady. You want everyone to know the truth? Let me show them. The room goes quiet. I hold up my husband's phone and read the first message. I know you want me. You only proposed to her because I was not available. My aunt gasps. My cousin rolls her eyes. So what? Everyone knows she was his backup plan. I read the second message. She is boring and plain and she trapped you. You deserve someone like me. My father's hands curl into fists. My cousin laughs. I am just saying what the whole family is thinking. Look at her and look at me. I read the third message. Tonight I am telling everyone we are in love. She can find someone in her league. My cousin lunges across the table. Give me that. I step back and hold the screen high. 8 months of messages. Next to every single one, nothing. He never replied. My cousin freezes. He deleted them. My husband stands. I never replied. I never touched you. You made all of this up. My cousin's voice cracks. You led me on. You smiled at me. You hugged me. My husband's voice is flat. I hugged the mailman too. It does not mean I am in love with him. Someone laughs and my cousin's face twists. Her hand wraps around a wine glass. The glass explodes against the wall behind me and red wine splatters across my white dress. You ruined everything. He was supposed to pick me. I have always been better than you. My father yanks her backwards so hard her heels scrape the floor. Get out. You are dead to this family. My cousin tries to twist free. She is not good enough for him. My father does not blink. I have one niece. She is wearing the white dress. 2 of my older cousins drag her toward the door. She kicks and screams until the door slams shut. She was never pregnant. She moved across the country because nobody in our family will speak to her. Not touch me. My cousin
Are you looking for a refresh?
That's right. You and me. Right now. We're having it out. Let's go. Come on. Come on.
Sunny on the something that's true for Christians, but we're not ready for that conversation. Questions. I know what I have been all day. Gangsters, pimps, crackheads, and all. In different areas too, who have been more loving and accepted than that was only one. I have seen so many Christians leave Bible study time to get to happy hour on time. And then have the nerve to be quote scripture. The Bible says come as you are. Well, if that's the case, God didn't even accept Jesus who he was. By the way that the Bible describes Jesus, I can guarantee you he wasn't eating hot dog casserole at the last supper. He was eating greens and cornbread. And then have the nerve to gather up the Christians to tell us that if we're not living the life that they think we're supposed to live, we're going to go to hell. There's going to be death in hell for you all for that devil life you live. Something that's true for Christians, but we're not ready for that conversation. Christians, I know what I have been all day. Gangsters, pimps, crackheads, and all. In different areas too, who have been more loving and accepted than that was only one. I have seen so many Christians leave Bible study time to get to happy hour on time. And then have the nerve to be quote scripture. The Bible says come as you are. Well, if that's the case, God didn't even accept Jesus who he was. By the way that the Bible describes Jesus, I can guarantee you he wasn't eating hot dog casserole at the last supper. He was eating greens and cornbread. And then have the nerve to gather up the Christians to tell us that if we're not living the life that they think we're supposed to live, we're going to go to hell. There's going to be death in hell for you all.
So a friend of mine asked me if you want to go bungee jumping. You forgot.
My own mom said, I wish you were never born. I stood tall and said, consider me as if I never existed. Live your lives as though there was never a daughter named Lisa. They went silent. The whole party froze. Part 3.
This is the worst thing you have seen someone do that's totally justified. My brother Ryan was marrying this absolute nightmare of a woman named Brianna. Nobody in our family could stand her, but Ryan was completely blind to it. She was controlling from day one. She told my mom she couldn't wear navy to the wedding because that was her color. She demanded our family pay paid for all the flowers, which cost like $3,000. When I asked if I could bring my 2 kids to the wedding, she said absolutely not because children would ruin her perfect day. But the worst part was when we found out she hadn't even sent an invitation to our Grandma Helen. When my mom asked why, Brianna just shrugged and said Grandma was boring and would probably fall asleep during the ceremony anyway. I was furious. Grandma Helen was 82 and had basically raised Ryan after our dad died. She taught him how to drive, helped him with homework every night, and even paid for his college textbooks when money was tight. When Grandma found out she wasn't invited, she didn't yell or cry like I expected. She just sat quietly in her kitchen chair, nodding slowly. Then she looked up at me with this calm smile and said, well, we'll see about that, won't we? The wedding day came, and I was dreading every minute of it. The venue was actually this gorgeous old mansion that had been in our family for decades. Grandma had let Ryan use it for free because she wanted his wedding to be special. I was standing there watching Brianna boss around the photographers when suddenly I heard gasps from the guests. There was Grandma Helen walking up the main entrance in the most stunning gold gown I'd ever seen. She looked like royalty. She was carrying this leather folder under her arm and had the biggest smile on her face. Brianna spotted her immediately and marched over, her face turning bright red. What are you doing here? You weren't invited, Brianna screamed loud enough for everyone to hear. The entire wedding party stopped what they were doing to watch. Grandma didn't even flinch.
I'm so tired of my skin looking like this. December completely threw me off. All the traveling, late nights, wearing makeup non-stop, and now my skin is freaking out. That's okay because I'm here to help you with your 2026 skincare goals. Here are my credentials. Skincare doesn't have to be hard. You just need a simple.
Final update. When the waiter asked for my order at our anniversary dinner, my husband said, she's not eating. She didn't contribute to the bill. Real hope, not the desperate kind I've been clinging to. 2 solid interviews and 1 more phone call scheduled for tomorrow.
My stepmom kept buying and replaced them with the cheap yellow one. I swapped my nice shower head for the funky original one from the garage. I removed the smart thermostat, the doorbell camera, the curtain rods I'd installed, even the magnetic spice racks from the kitchen, all carefully patched and painted so it looked untouched but felt empty. My dad asked once why the house felt dimmer. I shrugged. Guess I'm just packing. 2 days before the date on their little timeline, I called my dad, stepmom, and Colin to meet at the house for a walkthrough. They showed up practically buzzing, Colin holding a box labeled Colin's room. My dad had this patronizing speech ready about how proud he was that I was mature enough to move forward. I let them talk. Then I handed my dad the inspection report, the folder of receipts, the property tax statements with my name in bold letters. I told them the locks had been changed yesterday. I told them any attempt to enter without my permission would be trespassing, and the police would be called immediately. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost funny. My stepmom sputtered something about family agreements. Colin asked where the TV was. I told him it was in my new storage unit, along with anything else I didn't feel like leaving behind. My dad finally snapped, saying he'd let me live here because he thought I was responsible enough to manage it. But now he saw I was selfish. I cut him off. You didn't let me do anything. I bought this house. I pay every bill. You decided your wife's son deserved it more than me. And you were wrong. Colin muttered that they'd already given notice at their apartment. I smiled the widest smile of my life. Guess you better start packing then. They left in absolute silence. That night, I sat on my couch, the couch they thought would be Colin's, and turned on the TV they didn't know was tucked safely in my friend's garage until the locks were changed. Every corner of the house felt like mine again. They haven't spoken to me since, and I sleep like a baby under my own roof.
Stan was in 20 feet of you, turkey. You fucking stayed on. Torbeck has 0 expectations and he's still disappointed.
My daughter locked her sister in a freezing basement for 14 hours and I told her to stop overreacting because it was just a prank. But when the doctor reviewed the security footage, asked the part 2. I keep Final update. I chose my older son after he accidentally got his brother's girlfriend pregnant, demanded my younger son raise the baby like it was his responsibility, and cut him off when he
Kevin hit it again and again until it was just broken chunks. Austin didn't move the entire time. His face was blank. When Kevin finally stopped, he was breathing hard and grinning at the camera. That's when Austin smiled a little and said something under his breath. Kevin's grin disappeared. He told everyone to shut up and ask Austin what he just said. Austin looked up at his dad. He spoke in this calm, clear voice. He said, "You just humiliated me in front of your friends. You destroyed my stuff because you're bigger than me. But everyone's helpless when they're sleeping. Everyone." He paused. Then he asked if he could go to his room now because he had some thinking to do. Nobody moved. Troy's hands came off Austin's shoulders like he'd touched something hot. The other guy looked at Kevin like he was waiting for instructions. I felt ice in my stomach because I told Austin to guilt trip his dad, not sound like he was planning something. Kevin's face went from red to white. Austin stood up, stepped over the broken pieces, and walked upstairs. His door clicked shut. For about 10 seconds, nobody said anything. Then Kevin turned to me and asked if I'd talked to Austin. I said, "Yeah, I warned him you were planning this because it's a cruel thing to do." Kevin started yelling that I sabotaged his parenting. I yelled back that humiliating your own kid on video isn't parenting. My sister finally spoke up and told us both to leave it alone. Troy and the other got left without saying goodbye. My sister called me that night crying. She said Kevin went to the hardware store and bought a lock for their bedroom door. She asked me what exactly I'd said to Austin because Kevin was genuinely afraid their son was going to do something to him while he slept. I tried to explain that Austin was just messing with it, that a 12-year-old isn't going to actually hurt anyone. She said they'd already booked an appointment with a therapist for Wednesday, and that I needed to stay away from their house until things calmed down. I texted Austin the next day. He responded pretty quick. I asked him straight up if he was planning anything. He sent back, no, obviously not. I just wanted Dad to feel how I felt. He said his dad deserved to be scared after pulling that stunt. I told him it worked way too well, and he just replied, good. Then he thanked me for the heads up. It's been over a week now. My sister won't be home.
Match with a local church.
Okay, so here's a video with a bunch of priests. Here are some of the priests. I thought I was straight, but maybe I'm Catholic. As an atheist and a married woman, how did I end up here? I think we all know. How many Hail Marys do I have to say to repent from watching this video 11 times? Yes, Bob. You know, I was actually shocked at the very few amount of daddy comments I found in this comment section. Oh my god, we're going to... I'm sitting right now, aren't I? I read too many books for this. Forgive me, Father. I will be sitting tonight. We're all going to the holiday. Someone please tell me that these are scenes from a movie or something, because I just got right with the Lord and I'm scared I have to start over now. Is this a recruiting video? One time I went to confession, the priest was so gorgeous, and I remember thinking, how the hell am I sinning and asking for forgiveness both at the same time? No. I love that. This man was the priest in my mom's mirror. I bet that cheered you up a little bit. Kidding, I'm so sorry for your loss. Holy fan. Ladies, read the good book. I won't even read. The flowers Christ compelled. Okay, so here's a video with a bunch of priests. Here are some of the priests. I thought I was straight, but maybe I'm Catholic. As an atheist and a married woman, how did I end up here? I think we all know.
Nobody directly on his lens. He'll see it, but won't know where it's coming from. We spent Saturday installing everything. Motion sensor hidden behind my curtain, laser pointer mounted on my windowsill, laptop running the Wi-Fi interference program. Jake tested it 5 times. Every time I moved in my room, that red dot would appear on Gary's camera. This is beautiful, Jake said, admiring his setup. He's going to lose his mind trying to figure out what's happening. Monday morning, I watched Gary from my kitchen window. He's out there checking his camera, adjusting angles, looking confused. His camera keeps cutting out, probably driving him crazy. I moved around my room on purpose, triggering the laser. From my angle, I could see him getting more frustrated. Tuesday, same thing. Gary's outside at 7 a.m., messing with his camera equipment. At one point, he's on a ladder, cleaning the lens, when suddenly the red dot appears. He looks around, confused, but can't find the source. Wednesday, I decided to escalate, called in sick to work, spent the day randomly triggering the system. Every hour, I'd walk past the motion sensor, sending that laser dot dancing across his camera lens. By afternoon, Gary was outside 3 different times, clearly losing his patience. Thursday was the breaking point. I'm watching from my bedroom window when Gary comes outside with a toolbox, clearly fed up. He's checking connections, adjusting the camera mount, muttering to himself. The interference program is working overtime. His camera keeps cutting out every few seconds. Then it happens. Gary's standing there, tools in hand, when suddenly he looks up and sees the laser dot dancing on his lens. He freezes, follows the beam with his eyes, tracing it back to its source. Our eyes met through my bedroom window. I'm standing there while the laser was coming out from my room. I smiled and gave him a little wave. His face went from confusion to rage to pure embarrassment in about 3 seconds. He knew he'd been caught. He knew I knew exactly what he was doing. Gary unplugged the camera, grabbed his toolbox, and went inside. Within a week, the camera was completely gone. Never had another problem, directly on his lens. He'll see it, but won't know where it's coming from. We spent Saturday installing everything. Motion sensor hidden behind my curtain, laser pointer mounted on my windowsill, laptop running the Wi-Fi interference program. Jake tested it 5 times. Every time I moved in my... I heard...
Fake images I wanted. Troy's coworker tried to defuse things. Told Ashley she made a mistake. Just send a follow-up email. Ashley said there was no confusion, and she wasn't backing down just because we were gaslighting her. I told her to get out of my house immediately. She said she wasn't leaving until she finished documenting. I said you're trespassing and you tried to get us fired over a flag you can't even identify. She planted her feet and crossed her arms. I told Troy to call the cops if she didn't leave in 60 seconds. That got her moving. She walked to the door, filming the whole time. Got in her car, and I watched her type on her phone before driving off. 5 minutes later, she'd posted an Instagram story calling us out by name, tagging our employer's accounts, saying she'd just exposed 3 racists. Monday morning, my manager pulled me into his office. HR forwarded him an email from someone claiming I displayed Confederate symbols at a party. The email had photos of me in my living room with the Union Jack behind me. I had to explain the entire situation while my manager tried not to laugh. He closed the complaint but said it still created a file with my name on it.
There's now a permanent record that someone accused me of racism even though I did nothing wrong. Troy's company made him do a 2-hour interview with HR. They wanted a timeline of the party, who was there, why we had the flag. He had to send them Wikipedia articles about the Union Jack to prove it wasn't Confederate. My third roommate's HR ignored the email completely. Fake images I wanted. Troy's coworker tried to defuse things. Told Ashley she made a mistake. Just send a follow-up email. Ashley said there was no confusion, and she wasn't backing down just because we were gaslighting her. I told her to get out of my house immediately. She said she wasn't leaving until she finished documenting. I said you're trespassing and you tried to get us fired over a flag you can't even identify. She planted her feet and crossed her arms. I told Troy to call the cops if she didn't leave in 60 seconds. That got her moving. She walked to the door, filming the whole time. Got in her car, and I watched her type on her phone before driving off. 5 minutes later, she posted an Instagram story calling us out by name, tagging our employer's accounts, saying she'd just exposed 3 racists. Monday morning, my manager pulled me into his office. HR forwarded him an email from someone claiming I displayed Confederate symbols at a party. The email had photos of me in my living room with the Union Jack behind me. I had to explain the entire situation while my manager tried not to laugh. He closed the complaint but said it still created a file with my name on it. There's now a permanent record that someone accused me of racism even though I did nothing wrong. Troy's company made him do a 2-hour interview with HR. They wanted a timeline of the party, who was there, why we had the flag. He had to send them Wikipedia articles about the Union Jack to prove it wasn't Confederate. My third roommate's HR ignored the email completely. Fake images I wanted. Troy's coworker tried to defuse me.
Told me my sister was pregnant. I hung up on her. My parents kept trying to get me to be reasonable. They said the baby didn't ask to be born into this situation and that I should think about what's best for the family. I told them the family died the night I walked into my bedroom. I cut off everyone. My sister married my ex 6 months after our divorce was finalized. They had the baby, then 2 more after that. For years, my parents would send me pictures of the kids. I never opened them. They'd invite me to birthday parties and holidays. I never responded. I moved 2 hours away and started over. 3 years ago, I met someone at a coffee shop. He was kind, funny, and had this huge, loving family. We got married 2 years ago, and his family welcomed me like I'd always been there. His sister has 4 kids, and they call me Auntie. We go to the park, bake cookies, watch movies. I love those kids more than I ever thought possible. I finally felt like I had a family again. Then 3 months ago, my sister called me at work. I didn't recognize the number, so I told me my sister was pregnant.
So I took the trash out pretty late last night, and I heard a weird sound, like an animal in some sort of discontent. And I immediately thought, maybe that's a cat. What if it's her? I should go check it out.
I told my mom I won't forgive her just to keep the peace. My aunt pulled me aside at my grandmother's birthday party and whispered, "Your mom is crying in the bathroom. Just go apologize so we can all enjoy the evening." I looked at her. Apologize for what? My aunt sighed like I was being difficult. You know how she gets. She's sensitive. Just tell her you forgive her and we can move on. I shook my head. I'm not doing that. My aunt's face hardened. You're being selfish. This is your grandmother's 80th birthday. Don't ruin it over some petty grudge. Petty grudge. That's what she called it. Let me explain what my mother did. 3 years ago, I was engaged to the love of my life. His name was Evan. We'd been together since college. He was kind, patient, and treated me like I was the most important person in the world. My mom hated him from the start. She never said why. Just kept making comments about how I could do better, how he wasn't ambitious enough, how his family was different. I ignored her because I loved him. 2 months before our wedding, my mom called Evan and told him I was only marrying him for his family's money. She said I'd been talking badly about him behind his back. She made up conversations that never happened. Evan confronted me. We fought. I explained she was lying. He believed me, but my mom didn't stop there. She went to his mother, told her the same lies, added new ones, said I had cheated on Evan during our relationship, said I was using him, said I laughed about him with my friends. His mother believed every word. The wedding was called off, not because Evan stopped loving me, but because his family threatened to cut him off entirely if he married me. They were traditional. His mother's word was law. Evan chose his family. I was devastated. I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks. I couldn't get out of bed. My therapist said I was experiencing situational depression. When I confronted my mom, she denied everything at first. Then, when I showed her the text Evan's mother had sent me, repeating word for word what my mom had told her, she changed her story. I was protecting you, she said. You would have been miserable with him. I didn't speak to her for 2 years. Last month, my grandmother got sick. The family started gathering more often. My mom and I were in the same room for the first time since everything happened. She acted like nothing had changed, tried to hug me, called me sweetheart, asked about my job like we were best friends. I kept my distance. Polite but cold. That's when family pressure started. My aunt said I needed to let it go. My cousin said holding grudges was toxic. My uncle told me life was too short for this nonsense. Nobody mentioned what my mom actually did. They all acted like I was being dramatic over some minor disagreement. At my grandmother's party, my mom cornered me in the kitchen. Her eyes were red. I said I was sorry. What more do you want from me? You never apologized. I said, not once. I did. I said I was protecting you. That's not an apology. That's a justification. She started crying louder. My aunt heard and came running. That's when she pulled me aside and told me to apologize. I looked at my aunt. Did she tell you what she did? Did she tell you she destroyed my engagement? That she lied to his family? That I lost the man I loved because she couldn't control her need to control me? My aunt blinked. That was years ago. So you need to move on. She's your mother. I felt something snap inside me. Being my mother doesn't give her the right to destroy my life and expect forgiveness because it's convenient for everyone else. My aunt stepped back. You're making a scene. No, she made a scene 3 years ago when she blew up my entire future. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen. I walked back into the party. comforting her. They all looked at me like I was the villain. My grandmother called me over. She was the only one who knew the whole story. She took my hand and squeezed it. Don't let them pressure you, she whispered. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give to make other people comfortable. It's something you give when someone has earned it. I nodded and stayed by her side for the rest of the night. My mom tried to approach me 2 more times. Both times I walked away. The next morning, I woke up to 17 text messages from various family members, all saying the same thing, that I was cruel, that I was ruining the family, that my grandmother's party was supposed to be special, and I made it about myself. Not one of them mentioned what my mom did. I responded to all of them with the same message. Ask her what she did, then get back to me. My phone has been silent ever since. I told my mom I won't forgive her just to keep the peace. My aunt pulled me aside at my grandmother's birthday party and whispered, "Your mom is crying in the bathroom. Just go apologize so we can all enjoy the evening." I looked at her. Apologize for what? My aunt sighed like I was being difficult. You know how she gets. She's sensitive. Just tell her you forgive her and we can move on. I shook my head. I'm not doing that. My aunt's face hardened. You're being selfish. This is your grandmother's 80th birthday. Don't ruin it over some petty grudge. Petty grudge. That's what she called it. Let me explain what my mother did. 3 years ago, I was engaged to the love of my life. His name was Evan. We'd been together since college. He was kind, patient, and treated me like I was the most important person in the world. My mom hated him from the start. She never said why, just kept making comments about how I could do better, how he wasn't ambitious enough, how his family was different. I ignored her because I loved him. 2 months before our wedding, my mom called Evan and told him I was only marrying him for his family's money. She said I'd been talking badly about him behind his back. She made up conversations that never happened. Evan confronted me. We fought. I explained she was lying. He believed me, but my mom didn't stop there. She went to his mother, told her the same lies, added new ones, said I had cheated on Evan during our relationship, said I was using.
Chat, don't be.
Face dropped and she went back upstairs. I asked them what was so funny, and they both just shrugged like I was being dramatic. Whatever. Wedding day comes. Megan puts on her wig and this really pretty blue dress she picked out. She looked amazing. We drive to the venue and she's nervous the whole way, but she's doing it. She's actually doing it. The ceremony was nice. Megan sat next to me and she was quiet, but she was there. After, we all went to the reception hall. Big room, round tables, DJ playing music. Megan was actually talking to one of her cousins she hadn't seen in a while. I was at the table with my husband and some of his relatives, and I kept looking over at Megan and she seemed okay. Like, actually okay. Then we all sat down for dinner. Megan came back to our table. Ben was sitting across from her. Some aunt or someone made a comment about how pretty Megan looked and how she loved her haircut. Megan said thank you, and I could see her kind of relaxing a little bit. That's when it happened. Ben just reached across the table, grabbed Megan's wig, and yanked it right off her head. Just like that, in front of everyone. Megan screamed. Not like a loud scream, but this horrible shocked sound that I'm never gonna forget. Her bald head was just there, exposed, under all those lights with like 200 people around. She grabbed the wig out of Ben's hand, covered her head with it, and just ran. She ran out of the reception hall, and I could hear her crying as she went. Ben started laughing. His cousins at the next table started laughing. And I turned around and I saw my husband sitting there next to his mom, and he was laughing too. Actually laughing. At his stepdaughter, who just went through cancer. I stood up and I just lost it on Ben. Right there in front of everyone. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but it was loud and it was not nice. Something about him being cruel and pathetic and how he should be ashamed of himself. The whole room went quiet. People were staring. The bride, my husband's sister, had her mouth open. I didn't care. I grabbed my purse, went outside, found Megan in the parking lot sobbing in the car. I got in, started the engine, and we left. My husband called me like 6 times on the drive home. I didn't answer. He and Ben had driven with us, so now they had no ride. Not my problem. Face dropped and she went back upstairs. I asked them what was so funny, and they both just.
This post is full estate right next to my office, a 5-minute walk to work. I could have rented it out in a heartbeat, but my parents always taught me to be discreet about our wealth, so I never told them I was the owner. I charged them a token rent of.
David was home early for the first time in months. How fitting. I wiped my eyes and started cooking like nothing had changed. Alex.
Kyle, this is my grandmother's name, the woman who kept me alive. He looked at his shoes. I know, but Amber really loved it, and maybe you could pick something else? For me? No. His face hardened in a way I'd never seen. So a name is more important than me? I stepped closer. Is Amber's tantrum more important than your own mother? He left without answering. 4 weeks of silence. Then yesterday he texted asking to come over. I thought maybe Amber had calmed down. They sat on my couch while Clara slept in her swing. Amber had this smile that made my skin crawl. We picked a name, she announced. Paxton, with a Y. I didn't mean to react, but my nose wrinkled. Amber's smile grew. You don't like it? It wasn't a question. I tried to recover. It's different. She leaned forward and her voice went cold. I hate it. I think it sounds stupid, but you stole Clara, so now I have to pick something I hate. And when you tell your book club friends you have a granddaughter named Paxton, you'll think about what you did to me. My blood went ice cold. You're naming your daughter something you hate to punish me? Kyle stood up fast. You forced her to. You have 2 months to fix this. Change Clara's name and we can all move on. I looked at my son, this man I'd worked myself to exhaustion for, and I didn't recognize him. She just told you she hates your daughter's name and you're defending her? He grabbed Amber's hand. You started this, Mom. I stood up. If you name that baby Paxton out of spite, I'm done paying your bills. His face went white. You can't. I cut him off. I can. You can name your baby whatever you want, but I won't fund you hurting your own child to hurt me. Do you even like the name Paxton, Kyle? He froze. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Amber's grip on his hand tightened. Her knuckles white. Answer me, I said quietly. He grabbed his keys and pulled Amber toward the door. This conversation is over. That was 2 days ago. Last night, Amber texted from Kyle's phone. You'll never meet your granddaughter. I blocked the number. This morning, Kyle's roommate called. Hey, Mrs. Foster. Kyle asked me to tell you they're almost out of food and rent's due in a week. I thanked him and hung up. Kyle, this is my grandmother's name, the woman who kept me alive. He looked at his shoes. I know, but Amber really loved it, and maybe you could pick something else? For me? No. His face hardened in a way I'd never seen. So a name is more important than me? I stepped closer. Is Amber's tantrum more important than your own mother? He left without answering. 4 weeks of silence. Then yesterday he texted asking to come over. I thought maybe Amber had calmed down. They sat on my couch while Clara slept in her swing. Amber had this smile that made my skin crawl. We picked a name, she announced. Paxton, with a Y. I didn't mean to react, but my nose wrinkled. Amber's smile grew. You don't like it? It wasn't a question. I tried to recover. It's different. She leaned forward and her voice went cold. I hate it. I think it sounds stupid, but you... Oh, Claire.
So here I am in my own fun fucking the a-hole for telling a woman in my friend group that what she did wasn't petty revenge. It was just crazy. Ooh, how on brand. Wait a second. So, this story comes with a lot of context. I, 26 female, live in a small Midwestern town where even if you aren't close with everyone, you know everyone. My grade growing up was the largest with 98 kids. It was a pre-K-12 school, so at some point or another, you were in a class with every other kid your age, especially by middle school where you were attending about 8 classes a day. And drama got around fast, especially relationship drama. The woman in question, let's call her Diana, also 26 female, had a lot of relationship drama. The ideal that was pushed on us a lot as girls was to lock down a guy by high school and then get married as soon as possible once you graduate. Diana was determined to find her high school sweetheart, and as a result said yes to literally every guy that asked her out. To be clear, I'm not judging her for it. The pressure was high on all the girls, even teachers talked to us about it. I was lucky enough that pretty much every woman in my family who had done just that was more interested in being brutally honest about how stupid of a choice it had been for them to jump into marriage so young, and with the first guy who would ask. But Diana didn't have that. She had more people selling how perfect of a life she would have if she just got a good guy young. Ooh, I don't love this. The guys who asked her out, however, weren't great. They were teenage boys, and they acted like it. Her name came up a lot in the gossip mill, and it was usually about how she was dumped for some stupid reason. At this point, we weren't friends yet, but I knew her, and I had seen the aftermath of a few breakups she'd been in, starting in middle school. In hindsight, most of them weren't too bad, but for a young teen girl, it probably did feel like the end of the world every time she was broken up with. Now, as far as I know, she was never the one who did the breaking up, only ever been broken up with. Senior year, she and I ended up in the same friend group. At the time, she was with her longest-term boyfriend, and she was thrilled because he seemed to be on the same page she was about getting married fast and starting a family. We were happy for her, and it seemed like a good thing, until he cheated on her at a party and broke up with him after she called. She was devastated, understandably. She was once again the main topic of teenage gossip, and her latest ex and the girl he cheated with started dating and were very much trying to rub in how happy they were in Diana's face. I don't miss being a teenager. Not that boys liked me back then, but you get what I mean. Just petty, stupid teenage drama. Diana swore she was going to be single for a while and decided to work on her life outside of guys, which we all encouraged her to do. She stayed single for about a year until she met Jake, now 27 male. He wasn't from our town originally, but he moved there with his family for his dad's work. They hit it off, and Jake was really into her. He was honestly a fantastic match for her. Being the kind of guy who just liked making his girlfriend happy, he was willing to do anything she asked. He was as touchy as she was, liked spending all of his free time with her. And since he didn't have friends in our town yet, she was his primary hangout choice. They were together for a little under 2 years. Diana was 21 when they broke up. Jake was 22. The breakup was a mess, and it divided our friend group even then. Diana had become convinced that Jake was cheating on her, and there was no convincing her otherwise. Some of the reasons and logical explanations I can remember are Jake always went clothes shopping with Diana.